Right. Hello, English readers, and welcome to Ladies Book Club live read along of July 2024. I'm Lydie Bureau and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Ladies Book Club, in which I host live readings of adaptations of classics of English literature and contemporary novels. Once a week, I meet the members of the book club in a live workshop via Zoom to discuss the chapters of the book that we are currently reading. In this book club, I also tend to prioritize books that are written by women. And this month, we have started yesterday the reading of an original text. So this is something new. So far, we've been reading mainly, we've been mainly reading, adaptations of classics or contemporary novels of English literature. And this month or this summer, because we will do it as well in August, we are reading the original text. So we are reading Daisy Jones and the Six this month. And yesterday we did the first session. If you will have a C1 or advanced level in English, then it's going to be perfect for you to improve your reading skills, but also your critical thinking skills, share your opinion about this novel. So over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to host 11 live reading sessions on Instagram. So if you want to be live with me and have the chance to interact with me while I'm reading, then make sure you follow me on Instagram. I will host also, and then the replay is also available on YouTube and also on Spotify on the podcast Read in English. In addition to these 11 live reading sessions, I will host 3 live workshops on the book, on Daisy Jones and the Six, so that you'll be able to discuss the chapters, improve your English, and also share your thoughts and meet other book lovers. And these live workshops are hosted on Zoom on 3 different Saturdays. You've got all the dates by clicking on the link to be directed to my website. You have all the information there. And you have to become a member of the book club as well if you want to attend those workshop sessions. I'm also excited to announce that this week, the live workshop, the recording of the live workshop on White Teeth, the book that we read last month, June, live read along, is going to be available to purchase on my website. I think tomorrow it's going to be ready. So once you purchase the workshop, you will have private access to, by entering your login, you're going to have access to a private space in which you will have access to the 3 videos. And this way you'll be able to see how the workshops are run and have a little glimpse of what it's like to be part of Ladies Book Club. So today we are reading part 2 of Daisy Jones and the Six. So if you would like to know more about Taylor Jenkins Reid, the author of this book, and get an overview of the novel, to know a bit more what it's about, then I invite you to listen to the podcast episode 22, an introduction to Taylor Jenkins Reid and Daisy Jones and the Six, which is available on YouTube and Spotify as well. All right, so that being said, now let's get into a quick recap. So before I start the live reading, I always quickly recap the previous chapter that we've read. So we just started yesterday reading the novel. So what we learned. Hi guys, hello, hello. So we started reading the first part of the book, which was called The Groupie Daisy Jones, which was mainly about Daisy Jones. And the fact that she grew up in a household in which she was kind of left on her own. Her dad is a well-known British painter, and her mother is a French model. They are wrapped up in their lives, and they don't really pay attention to their daughter. She's all the time on her own, and they basically never, they don't really care much about what she's doing, where she's going, who is she with. So this is quite sad for a young girl to experience at such a young age. She has to raise herself on her own. So this is who we meet in this novel. And I just want to remind you that this novel is written as an oral history, in an oral history style. Sorry, I'm gonna make it. So that means that each time you're gonna have a different character here speaking. It is almost like a rock band documentary. So every time there is a new, not all the time, but there is a new someone, another person that is talking. And so that's where we started getting to know Daisy Jones, and the fact that she also, she was very young, and she she used to hang out on Sunset Strip, which is a section of Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It was the place to be at the time. Remember, we are in the late 60s, early 70s. Well, when that's, yeah, late 60s, when she's still young. So she is about 14 years old when she starts going out, and she starts spending time around music, around music bands, um, and in venues. She spends her time in music venues and around rock bands, and around older men. And she is going to be used, and these guys are going to take advantage of her. She's barely 15, and she's already drinking, taking drugs. And yeah, it's quite hard to imagine, but that's the 70s. Um, and yeah, so she is around these people, and at some point she meets this guy, and they're gonna have sex together, even though doesn't she clearly doesn't know what she's doing, and she doesn't really want to do it, but because it's the only way she feels that she can be seen and that people will pay attention to her, or she doesn't want to be left or rejected, then she accepts and go along. So this guy, who's double her age, is when in his even more, yeah, probably, I don't know, anyway, in his 30s or something like that, and he is going to sleep with her and then leave, just leave her on her own after he's done with it. So after that, she's going to meet finally someone that she is going to consider as her family, Simone Jackson. Yeah, Simone Jackson, a disco star, was she's trying to make her way into the music scene, the disco scene. They're actually going to move together for about 6 months. They're going to live in Simone's flat because her record label will give her the chance to stay in a flat, to have her own flat. So they will spend their time in this flat, but it's not gonna last because Simone's first album didn't really work. So they will have to move out from the place, and Daisy will have to move back to her parents. And when she moves back to her parents, they barely notice that she left the house. So she comes back to the house and her mom is on the phone and she's like, "Hey, I'm back." And they're like, "Yeah, we've got a new couch." So yeah, so you can see really that that she's almost like invisible. And yeah, in a way she's not going to feel close to her parents. And at some point she says about her mother, because people will tell her that she looks beautiful, she looks a lot like her mother, and she will not really like to be compared to her mother, because she doesn't act like a mother for her, and she answers beautiful, yeah, and nothing else. Yeah, so she really is lacking of affection and love, basically. So Simone is going to be her family, her real family. And there is a very tender moment in the car where they are listening this music, and they just look at each other, and they understand each other. So they don't need to speak to each other. I hope you brought your cup of tea, because this session is going to be a long one. We're going to read about 20 pages. So I hope that you are set up. Yeah, so yeah, this relationship with Simone is going to be really strong. Well, so far it's a strong relationship. And then as she grew up, she's going to be more she's going to read more and be more into writing, and at some point she's going to meet a musician, and later on a film director or something like that. Yeah. And this guy from The Breeze will actually steal Daisy's ID on her song, and this song is going to be a hit. And later on, she meets this film director, and she's going to just throw the idea of a name of the or a topic. Yeah, he's going to be inspired by her and her way of living, and she's not gonna like that. And she is going to decide that she does not want to be a muse or someone that inspires other people to make things. I want to be someone that makes things. I want to be the somebody, I'm the somebody. So she started writing her own stuff, as it's quoted. As a quote. Yeah, so that's it for the little recap of the first part. And now the rise of the six. 1966 and 1972. Okay, let's start. Okay, so now we leave Daisy Jones on the side to learn more about the band The Six. The Six started out as a blues rock band called the Dunne Brothers in the mid-60s out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Billy and Graham Dunne were raised by a single mother, Marilyn Dunne, after their father, William Dunne, Sr., left in 1954. Billy Dunne, so the lead singer of The Six. I was 7 when Dad left. Graham was 5. One of my first memories was when Dad told us he was moving to Georgia. I asked if I could come with him, and he said no. But he left behind this old Silverstone guitar, and Graham and I would fight over who got to play it. Playing that thing was about all we did. Nobody taught us. We taught ourselves. Then, when I got older, sometimes I'd stay late after school and mess around on the piano in the chorus room. Eventually, when I was about 15 or so, Mum saved up and bought Graham and I an old Strat for Christmas. Graham wanted that one, so I let him have it. I kept the Silverstone. So those are names of guitars. Graham Dunne, so his brother, lead guitar, the Six of The Six. Once Billy and I each had a guitar, we started to write new songs together. I wanted the Silverstones, but I could tell it meant more to Billy. So I took the Strat. So you see how the different version and perception about the guitar and the value of that guitar. So yeah, and how they see it differently. Billy, everything grew from there. Billy got really into songwriting, really into the lyrics. All he'd talk about was Bob Dylan. Me, I was more of a Roy Orbison guy. I think we both had these stars in our eyes, wanted to be the Beatles, but everybody wanted to be the Beatles. You wanted to be the Beatles, and then you wanted to be the Stones. Billy. For me, it was Dylan and Lennon. Free Will Bob Dylan and Hard Day's Night. Free Willing Bob Dylan and Hard Day's Night. Those men were my guides. In 1967, with the brothers in their teens, they brought on drummer Warren Rhodes, bassist Pete Loving, and rhythm guitarist Chuck Williams. So those are the other members of the Dunne Brothers band. They joined the band. Warren Rhodes, drummer of then the Six. A drummer needs a band. It's not like being a singer or guitarist. You can't just perform your own. No girls were saying, "Oh, Warren, play me the drum beat from Hey Joe." And I wanted in, man. I was listening to the Who, the Kings, the Yardbirds, stuff like that. I wanted to be Keith Moon and Ringo and Mitch Mitchell. Billy. Warren, we liked right from the start. And then Pete was an easy grab. Went to school with us, played bass. for this high school band that played our prom. When they broke up, I said, Pete, come on and join us. He was always really cool about stuff. He just wanted to rock out. Then there was Chuck, and Chuck was a few years older than the rest of us, from a few towns over. But Pete knew him, vouched for him. Chuck was really clean cut, square jaw, blonde hair, and all that. But we auditioned him, and turned out he was better than me at rhythm guitar. I wanted to be a frontman, and now we had a full five-man band, so I could do that. Graham, so Billy's brother, remember? We got a lot better really quickly. I mean, all we were doing was practicing. Warren, day in, day out, I woke up, grabbed my sticks, and headed over to Billy and Graham's garage. If my thumbs were bleeding when I went to bed, it was a good day. Graham. I mean, what else were we gonna do? None of us had girlfriends except Billy. All the girls wanted to date Billy. And I swear, it was like Billy was in love with a new girl every week. It always been like that. And then in elementary school, it asked out his second grade teacher. Mom always said he was born girl crazy. She used to joke it'd be the end of it. So Billy is very successful with girls. Hi, Kitty. Hello. Welcome to the live. Thank you for joining. We are at page 21. So Graham. No, Warren, sorry. We played house parties and a bar here and there for maybe about 6 months or so, maybe a little longer. Got paid in beer, which when you're underage isn't so bad. Graham. We were always hanging out in the, let's say, classiest of places. There were a few times a fight would break out over something, and you were worried you might get caught in the crossfire. This one time, we were playing a gig at a dive bar, and this guy in the front got a little too jacked up on something. It started swinging punches at people. I'm minding my own business, playing my riffs, when suddenly he's coming for me. And then it all went lightning fast. Boom! He was on the ground. Billy had taken him out. Billy done the same thing when we were little kids. I was headed down to the 5 and dime, and some kid tried to jump me for a couple nickels. Billy ran up to us and then just flattened him. Warren. You knew back then not to say any shit about Graham if Billy could hear you. You know, Graham wasn't that good when we were starting out. I remember one time, Pete and I were saying to Billy, maybe we should replace Graham. And Billy said, say that again, and Graham and I will replace you. So he's very protective to his brother. Honestly, I thought that was cool. I was thinking, all right, I'm not going to get involved then. Never did bother me much that Billy and Graham thought of the band as theirs. I liked thinking of myself as a drummer for hire. I was just trying to have a good time playing in a good band. Graham. We started to play enough that some people around town knew who we were. And Billy was just starting to get into his lead singer thing. We had a look, you know? We all did. We stopped cutting our hair. Billy. I wore jeans everywhere, got really into big belts, buckles. Warren. Graham and Pete started wearing these tight t-shirts. I'd tell them, I can see your nipples. They thought that was cool. Billy. We got hired for this wedding. It was a big deal. A wedding meant we were gonna be hired by, 100 people. We were gonna be heard by, 100 people. I think I was 19. We had auditioned for this couple with our best song. It was this slower, folkier song I'd written called Nevermore. Just thinking about it makes me cringe. Truly. I was writing about Catonsville, Nine, and things like that. I thought I was Dylan, but we got the gig. And about halfway through our show at this wedding, I noticed this 50-something guy dancing with this 20-something girl. And I thought, does this guy know what a creepy looks like? And then I realized it's my dad. Ooh. All right. Graham, our father was there with this young girl about our age. I realized it before Billy, I think. Recognized him from the pictures our mom kept in the shoebox under her bed. Billy, I couldn't believe it. He'd been gone 10 years by that point. And he was supposed to be in Georgia. That asshole was just standing right in the middle of the dance floor. No idea his sons were up on stage. It had been so long since he'd seen us. He didn't even recognize us. Not our faces or our voices. Nothing. When we finished playing, I watched him walk off the dance floor. Didn't so much as look at us. I mean, what kind of sociopath do you have to be not to notice your own sons when they are right there in front of you? How's that even possible? In my experience, biology kicks in. You meet that kid and you know it's yours and you love that kid. That's just how it works. Graham. Billy asked a few people at the wedding about him. Turns out our father had been living a few towns over, friends with the bride's family or something. Billy was boiling mad, saying he didn't even recognize us. I always thought that he probably did recognize us and just didn't know what to say. Billy, it messes with you when your own father doesn't care about you enough to say hello. I'm not saying it was a self-pity thing. I wasn't sitting there asking, why doesn't he love her? Why doesn't he love me? It was more, okay, this is how dark the world can be. Some fathers don't love their sons. It was a lesson. It would not in what not to be. I'll tell you that much. Graham. Seemed like he was a drunk asshole anyway. So good riddance to him. Billy. After the wedding had ended and everyone was packing up, I had a few too many beers and I saw this woman working the cocktail waitress at the hotel bar. Gorgeous girl. Real long brown hair down to her waist and big brown eyes. I'm a sucker for brown eyes. I remember she was wearing a tiny little blue dress. She was short, and I liked that. I was standing there in the hotel lobby on my way to the van, and she was waiting on a customer over at the bar. You could tell just watching her that she wasn't taking shit from anybody. Camilla Dunne, so Billy's wife, who is speaking, yeah. Remember, this is they are interviewed in the maybe it doesn't Say, present day, I would say, or maybe in 2000 or something. Yeah. Camilla Dunne. Oh my word. Was he good looking? Oh my word. Was he good looking? Slim but still muscular, which has always been my type. And he had these thick eyelashes and so much confidence and a really big smile. And when I saw him in the lobby, I remember thinking, why could I meet a guy like that? Billy. I walked right up to her in that bar, holding, an amp in one hand and a guitar in the other. I said, Miss, I'd like your number, please. She was standing up at the register. She had one hand on her hip. She laughed at me and kind of looked at me sideways. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like, what if you're not my type? I leaned over the bar and said, my name is Billy Dunne. I'm the lead singer of the Dunne Brothers. And if you give me your number, I write a song about you. That got her. That doesn't get every woman, but it usually gets the good ones. Camilla. Hi, Tien. Hello. I went home and told my mum I met somebody. And she said, nice boy? And I said, oh, sorry, it's Camilla, sorry. I went home and told my mum I met somebody. And she said, nice boy? And I said, I don't know about that. Nice never did much for me. Over the summer and fall of 1969, the Dunne brothers started to book more shows in Pittsburgh and the surrounding towns. Okay. Graham. When Camilla started coming out with us, I'll admit I didn't think she'd last much longer than the others, but I should have known she was different. I mean, first time I met her, she came to a gig of ours wearing a Tommy Jeans shirt. She knew good music. I'm good, thank you. Warren. The rest of us were really started to get late, man. And Billy was taking himself off the market. We'd all be with chicks and he'd be sitting there smoking a joint, having a beer to keep himself busy. I came out of a girl's room one time, zipping my pants up, and Billy was sitting on the sofa watching Dick Cavett. I said, man, you gotta ditch that girlfriend. I mean, we all liked Camilla. She was foxy and she'd tell you your business right to your face, which I liked. But come on. Billy. I'd been infatuated before, called it love, but when I met Camilla, it was something different altogether. She just made the world make sense to me. She even made me like myself more. She'd come watch us practice and listen to my new stuff and give me really good notes on it all. And there was a calmness to her that nobody else had. It felt like when I was with her, I knew everything would be fine. It was like I was following the North Star. You know, Camilla was born content, I think. She wasn't born with whatever chip on her shoulder some of us are born with. I used to say, I was born broken. She was born whole. That's where the lyrics to born broken came from. Camilla. When Billy met my parents for the first time, I was a little nervous. You only get one chance to make first impression, especially with them. I picked out his outfit down to his socks, made him wear the only tie he had. They loved him. Said he was charming. But my mom was also worried about me putting my trust in some guy in a band. Billy. Pete was the only one who seemed to understand why I'd have a girlfriend. Chuck one time as we were packing up for a show said, just tell her you aren't a one-woman guy. Girls get that. That was not gonna work on Camilla. Warren. Chuck was really cool. He would cut right to the heart of something. He sort of looked like he never had an interesting thought on his life. But it could surprise you. It turned me on to status quo. Oh no, it turned me on to status quo. I still listen to them. Status Quo is a famous band from the 70s as well. On December 1st, 1969, the US Selective Service System conducted a lottery to determine the draft order for 1970. Bill and Graham Dunne, both born in December, had unusually high numbers. Warren just missed the cutoff. Pete Loving fell in the middle, but Chuck Williams, born April 24, 1949, was assigned lottery number 2. Graham. Chuck got called for the draft. I remember sitting at Chuck's kitchen table, him saying he was going to Vietnam. Billy and I kept thinking of ways he could get out of it. He said he wasn't a coward. Last time I saw him, we played a bar by Duquesne. I said, you just come on back to the okay, sorry, it's just a phrase. You just come on back to the band when you're done. Warren. Billy played Chuck's parts for a while, but we've heard Eddie Loving, Pete's younger brother, had gotten pretty good at the guitar. We invited him to come audition. Billy. Nobody could be Chuck. But then we kept getting more shows and I didn't want to keep playing rhythm guitar on stage. So we invited Eddie. Figured he could pitch in for a little while. Eddie Loving. Rhythm guitar in the 6. I got along well with everybody, but I could tell Billy and Graham just wanted me to fit into the mold they had set for me, you know? Play this, do that. Graham. A few months in, we heard from one of Chuck's old neighbors, Billy. Chuck died in Cambodia. He wasn't even there 6 months. I don't think. You do sometimes sit and wonder why it wasn't you. What makes you so special that you get to be safe? The world doesn't make much sense. At the end of 1970, the Dunne brothers played a show at the Pint in Baltimore, where Rick Marks, lead singer of the Winters, was in attendance. Impressed with their raw sound and taking a liking to Billy, he offered them an opening spot on a few shows on their northeastern tour. The Dunne brothers joined the Winters and quickly became influenced by the Winters sound and intrigued with their keyboardist, Karen. Okay. Karen, the keyboardist of the 6. The first time I met the Dunne brothers, Graham asked me, "What's your name?" I said, "Karen." And he said, "What's your last name?" And I thought he said, "What's your name?" again, like he didn't hear me. So I said, "Karen." And he laughed and said, Karen? Everybody called me Karen from then. My last name is Circo, for the record, but Karen just stuck. Billy. Karen added this extra layer, a lushness, to what the Winters were doing. I started thinking maybe we needed something like that. Graham. Billy and I were starting to think maybe we don't need somebody like Karen, but maybe we need Karen. So you can see that Graham is already very into Karen. Karen, I left the Winters because I was sick of everyone in the band trying to sleep with me. I wanted to just be a musician. And I liked Camilla. She'd hang out after the shows sometimes, and she came up to visit Billy. I dug that Billy had her around sometimes or was always on the phone with her. It was a better vibe all around. Camilla. When they went on tour with the Winters, I'd drive up to any weekend shows they had and hang out backstage. I'd have spent 4 hours in the car and get to the venue. Usually, these places were pretty sketchy with gum all over everything and your shoes sticking to the floor. I'd give my name at the door and they show me through to the back. And there I was, a part of it all. I'd walk in and Graham and Eddie and everybody would yell, Camilla! And Billy would walk over and put his arm around me. Once Karen started hanging out too, I just cinched it for me. It just cinched it for me. I felt like this is where I belong. Graham. Karen was a great addition to the band, made everything better, and she was beautiful too. I mean, in addition to being talented, I always thought she looked a little like Ally McGraw. Karen. When I said that, I dug the fact that the boys in the Dune brothers weren't trying to get with me. That doesn't go for Graham Dune. But I knew he liked me for my talent just as much as my looks. So it didn't faze me much. It was sweet, actually. Plus, Graham was a sexy guy, especially in the 70s. I never got the whole Billy is the sex symbol ID. I mean, you had the dark hair, dark eyes, high cheekbones thing, but I like my men a little less pretty. I like it when they look a little dangerous, but are actually very gentle. That's Graham. Broad shoulders, hairy chest, dusty brown hair. He was handsome, but he was still a little rough around the edges. I will admit that Billy knew how to wear a pair of jeans, though. So there are a lot of reference to the looks and how people were dressed, the style. Very typical of the time people cared about. Yeah. Billy. Karen was just a great musician. That was all there was to be. I always say, I don't care if you're a man, woman, white, black, gay, straight, or anything in between. If you play well, you play well. Music is a great equalizer in that way. Karen. Men often think they deserve a sticker for treating women like people. Warren. That was around the time Billy's drinking seemed like it was getting a little over the edge. He'd party like the rest of us, but when we all went off with the chicks we met, he'd stay up drinking. They always seemed fine in the morning, and we were all kind of going crazy out there, except for maybe Pete. He'd met this girl, Jenny, in Boston, and was always on the phone with her. Graham. Anything Billy does, he goes hard. He loves hard, he drinks hard, even the way he spends money, like it's burning a hole in his pocket. It was part of the reason why, with Camilla, I was telling him to take it slow. Billy. Camilla came out with us sometimes, but a lot of the time she waited at home. She was still living with her parents, and I would call her every night from the road. Camilla. When he didn't have a dime to make a call, he'd call collect, and when I answered, he'd say, Billie Jean loves Camila Martinez, and then hang up before the charge kicked in. My mum always rolled her eyes, but I thought it was sweet. Karen, a few weeks after I joined the band, I said, we need a new name. The Dune brothers didn't make sense anymore. Eddie, I'd been saying we needed a new name. Billy, we had a following with that name. I didn't want to change it. Warren, we couldn't decide what to call ourselves. I think somebody suggested the dipsticks. I wanted us to go by shagging. Eddie, Pete said, you're never going to get 6 people to agree on this. And I said, what about the 6? Karen, I got a call from a booker in Philly, where I'm from. And I said that the Winters had pulled out of a festival there, asked if we wanted to play. And I said, right on, but we aren't called the Dune Brothers anymore. He said, well, what do I put on the flyer? I said, not sure yet, but I get the 6 of us there. And I liked it how it sounded, the 6. So here you see 2 people. So we've got for Eddie's version, it's him who found the name of the band. And then you've got Karen say, oh, I liked how it sounded, the 6. So here it seems like we don't really know whether it's Eddie or Karen who suggested the name of the band. Warren, part of the brilliance of the name was how close it was to the 6. But I don't think any of us ever talked about that. It was so obvious there was no need to put a finer point on it. Karen, I was not thinking about it. I was not thinking about it sounding like anything. Billy, the 6? No, that wasn't part of it. So you see here again that this reference of the 6 sounding like the 6 is not really, it's not something that the other member of the band pay much attention or realize, except Warren. So probably he imagined that other people were thinking the same way as he did, but not really. Billy, we played that show in Philly as the 6th, and then we got an offer to another show in town, another in Harrisburg, another in Allenton. We got asked to play New Year's Eve at this bar in Hartford. We weren't making much money, but I'd spend my last dollar taking Camilla out whenever I was home. We'd got to this pizza joint a few blocks from her parents' place, and I'd borrow money from Graham or Warren to take her out somewhere nice. She always told me to cut it out. She'd say, if I wanted to be with a rich guy, I wouldn't have given my number to the singer of a wedding band. Camilla. Billy had charisma, and I fell for all that. I always did. The smoldering, the brooding. A lot of my girlfriends were looking for guys that could afford a nice ring. But I wanted somebody fascinating. Oops, sorry. Hey, hello, William. Hi, welcome to the live. Hello. Where was I? I wanted somebody fascinating. Around 71, we booked a few shows in New York. That was Graham. Eddie. New York it was how you knew you were somebody. Graham. One night, we were playing a bar over in the Bowery and out on the street, smoking a cigarette. And out on the street, smoking a cigarette is a guy named Rod Reyes. Rod Reyes, manager of the 6. Billy June was a rock star. You could just see it. It was very cocksure, knew how to play to in the crowd. There was an emotion that he brought to his stuff. There's just a quality that some people have. If you took 9 guys plus Mick Jagger and you put them in the lineup, someone who had never heard of the Rolling Stones before, could still point to Jagger and said, "That's a rock star." Billy had that, and the band had a good sound. Billy. When Rode came up to us after that show at the Wreckage, that was a watershed moment. Rode. When I started working with the band, I had some ideas, some of which were well received, and others not so much. Graham. Rode told me I needed to cut at half of my solos, that they were interesting for people that love technical guitar work, but boring for everyone else. I said, why would I play to people who don't care about good guitar? He said, if you want to be huge, you gotta be for everybody. Billy. Rod told me to stop writing about stuff I didn't know about. He said, don't reinvent the wheel. Write about your girl. Hands down, best career advice I ever got. Rod told me to wear a low-cut shirt, and I said, dream on. And that was about the end of that. Eddie. Rod started getting us gigs all over the East Coast, Florida to Canada. Warren. Let me tell you the sweet spot for being in rock and roll. People think it's when you're at the top, but no. That's when you've got the pressure and the expectations. What's good is when everybody thinks you're headed somewhere fast, when you're all potential. Potential is pure fucking joy. Graham. The longer we were out on the road, the wider we all got. And Billy wasn't exactly... Look, Billy liked attention, especially from women. But at least at that point, that's all it was. Just attention. Billy. It was a lot to balance. Loving somebody back home, being out on the road, girls were coming backstage, and I was the one they wanted to meet. I didn't know what a relationship was supposed to look like. Camilla. We started to get into fights, Billy and I. I will admit I wanted something impractical back then. I wanted to date a rock star, but I wanted him available at all times. I'd get mad when he couldn't do exactly what I wanted. I was young, so was he. Sometimes it would get so bad that we'd stop talking for a few days. And then one of us would call the other and apologize, and things would go back the way they were. I loved him, and I knew he loved me. It wasn't easy. But as my mother used to remind me, you've never been interested in easy. Graham. This one night, Billy and I were back home and getting in the van to head out to Tennessee or Kentucky or somewhere. Camilla came to see us off. And when Rode pulled up in the van, Billy was saying goodbye. He moved the hair out of Camilla's face and put his lip on her forehead. I remember that he didn't even really kiss her. He just held his lips there. And I thought, I've never cared about anyone like that. Billy. I wrote Senora for Camilla. And let me tell you, people liked that song a lot. Pretty soon, at our best shows, people were getting up out of their seats, starting to dance, singing along. Camilla. Didn't have the heart to tell him that I was technically a señorita. I mean, choose your battles. Besides, once I listened to it, let me carry you on my back. The road looks long and the night looks black. But the two of us are bold explorers. Me and my gold senora. I loved it. I loved that song. Billy. We cut a demo of Senora and When the Sun Shines on You. Road. My real contact my real contacts, sorry, were all out in LA by then. I said to the band, I think that's maybe 72. I said, we gotta go out west. Eddie, California was where the cool shit was happening. You know what I mean? Billy, I just thought there's something inside me that needs to do this. Warren, I was ready to go. I said, let's get in a van. Billy, I went to Camilla's parents' house and I sat her down on the edge of her bed. I said, do you want to come with us? She said, what would I do? I said, I don't know. She said, you want me to just follow you around? I said, I guess. She took a moment and then she said, no, thank you. I asked her if we could stay together. And she said, are you coming back? Are you coming back? And I told her I didn't know. And she said, then no. And she dumped me. Camila, I got mad that he was leaving. And I blew up at him. I didn't know how else to handle it. Karen. Camila called me before we left on tour. Told me she'd broken up with Billy. I said, I thought you loved him. And she said, he didn't even try to fight me on it. I said to her, if you love him, you should tell him. And she said, he's the one leaving. It's on him to fix this. Camilla, love and pride don't mix. Billy, what could I do? She didn't want to come with me, and I couldn't stay. Graham, we packed up and said goodbye to Mum. She'd married the mailman by then. I mean, I know his name was Dave, but until the day he died, I called him. And I called him the mailman because that's what he was. He delivered the mail at her office. He was the mailman. Anyway, we left Mom with the mailman and got in a van. Warren. We gigged everywhere along the way from Pennsylvania to California. Billy. Camilla made her choice, and there was a big part of me that felt like, all right, I'll be single then. See if she likes that. Graham. Billy straight up lost his mind on that trip. Rod. It wasn't the women I was worried about with Billy, although there were a lot of women. But Billy would get so messed up after shows that I'd have to wake him up the next afternoon by slapping him across the face. He was that far gone. Camilla. Oh, sorry. Where was I? I was sick to my stomach without him. I was kicking myself every day, waking up in tears. My mom kept telling me to track him down, to take it back, but it felt like it was too late. I'd gone on without him. He had gone without me to make his dream come true, as he should have. Warren. When we got to LA, Rod hooked us up with a few rooms at the Hyatt White House. Remember, the White House is this hotel in LA where Daisy Jones used to hang out as well. Greg McGinnis, former concierge of the Continental White House. I'd love to tell you that I remember the 6 coming in and staying with us, but I don't. There was so much going on, so many bands back then. It was hard to keep track. I remember meeting Billy Dunne and Warren Rose later, but back then, no. Warren. Rod called in his favors. We started playing bigger gigs. Eddie. LA was a trip. Everywhere you looked, you were surrounded by people who loved playing music, who liked to party. I thought, what the hell didn't we come here sooner? The girls were gorgeous. The drugs were cheap. Billy. We played a few shows. Oh, okay. We're nearly the end of the chapter. Well, of the section. Yes, of the chapter. Billy. We played a few shows around Hollywood at the Whiskey, the Roxy, PJ's. I had just written a new song called Farther From You. It was all about how much I miss Camilla, how far I felt from her. When we hit the strip, Sunset Strip, yeah, that felt like we were really coming into our own. Graham. All of us started to dress a bit better. You really had to step up your game in LA. I started wearing my shirts unbuttoned halfway down my chest. I thought I was sexy as hell. Billy. That was about when I got really into, what is that? People call it now a Canadian tuxedo. I was wearing a denim shirt with my jeans pretty much every day. Karen. I felt like I couldn't focus on playing if I dressed in mini skirts and boots and all that. I mean, I liked that look, but I wore high-waisted jeans and turtlenecks most of the time. Turtlenecks is the you know, shirt, tops that are especially in winter when it covers up to here. Graham. Karen was so fucking sexy in those turtlenecks. Rod. Once they were starting to get some good attention, I set up a show for them at the Troubadour. It's a famous venue in LA. Like the Whiskey and the Roxy mentioned before. Graham. Farther From You was a great song. And you could tell Billy felt it. Billy couldn't fake anything. When he was in pain or when he was joyful, you could feel it. That show at the Troubadour that night, as we were playing, I looked over at Karen and she was in it, you know. And then I looked at Billy and he's singing his heart out. And I thought, this is our best show yet. Rod. I saw Teddy Price standing in the back listening. I hadn't met him before, but I knew he was a producer with Runner Records. We had a few friends in common. After the show, he came up and found me and said, my assistant heard you guys at PJ's. I told him I would come listen. Billy. Get off stage and Rod comes up to me with this real tall fat guy in a suit and says, Billy, I want you to meet Teddy Price. First thing Teddy says is, and you have to remember, he had this real thick upper crust British accent. You've got a hell of a talent for writing about that girl. Well, I'm not doing the good accent. Karen, watching Billy, it felt a little bit like watching a dog find a master. He wanted to please him, wanted the record deal. He could feel it dripping off him. Warren, Teddy Price was ugly as sin, a face only a mother could love. I'm just messing around. He was ugly, though. I liked that he didn't seem to care. Karen, that's the glory of being a man. An ugly face isn't the end of you. Billy, I shook Teddy's hand and he asked me if I had any more songs like the ones he heard. And I said, yes, sir. He said, where do you see this band in 5 years? 10 years? And I said, well, we'll be the biggest band in the world. Warren, I signed my first pair of tits that night. That girl comes up to me and unbuttons her shirt and says, sign me. So I signed her. Let me tell you, that's a memory you have for a lifetime. The following week, Teddy visited the band at a rehearsal space in the San Fernando Valley and listened to the 7 songs they had prepared. Shortly after, they were inviting the Runner Records office, introduced to CEO Rich Palantino, and offered a recording and publishing deal. Teddy Price personally would be producing their album. Graham. We signed the deal around 4 in the afternoon, and I remember walking out onto Sunset Boulevard, the 6 of us, the sun hitting us right in the eyes, and just feeling like Los Angeles had opened its arms and said, come on in, baby. I saw a t-shirt a few years ago that said, I got my shades on I got my shades on because my future's so bright. And I thought the little shit that was wearing it doesn't know what he's talking about. He never stood on the Sunset Boulevard, sun blinding his eyes, with his 5 best friends and a record contract in his back pocket. Billy. That night, everybody was out partying over at the Rainbow. And I walked down the street to a payphone. Imagine achieving your wildest dream and feeling empty inside. It didn't mean anything unless I could share it with Camilla. So I called her. My heart was beating so fast as the phone rang. I put my fingers to my pulse, and it was throbbing. But when Camilla answered, it was like laying down in bed after a long day. I felt so much better just hearing her voice. I said, I miss you. I don't think I can live without you. And she said, I miss you too. I said, what are we doing this for? We're supposed to be together. And she said, yeah, I know. We were both quiet on the line, and I said, if I had a record contract, would you marry me? She said, what? Camilla now speaking. I was just so excited for him. If it was true, he'd worked so hard for it. Billy. I said it again. If I had a record contract, would you marry me? And she said, you got a record contract? That's when I knew right then that Camilla was my soulmate. She cared more about the record contract than anything else, I said. You didn't answer my question. And she said, did you get a record contract? Yes or no? And I said, will you marry me? Yes or no? She didn't say anything for a while. And then she said, yes. And then I said, yes. She started screaming, so excited. I said, come on out here, honey. Let's get hitched. And that's the end of the chapter. It's so exciting. This is so beautiful. It's so, romantic in a way. And so 70s. So yeah, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this live reading, getting to know the 6 and their rise to fame and getting the record contract, signing a record deal in LA. Yeah, everything is going smoothly. Yeah, and Billy calling back Camilla. Yeah, so I guess there is a wedding on the way. Right. So I hope you enjoyed this live reading. Make sure you subscribe to the book club membership to participate in the 3-part workshop of Daisy Jones and the Six. Remember, you can now purchase also the workshop on you will this week, sorry, not yet. Tomorrow you'll be able to purchase the 3-part workshop on white teeth. I wish you a beautiful end of the day, and I will see you tomorrow for part 3, pages 43 to 48. So it's going to be a short
live session compared to today, but it's going to be great anyway. Bye bye. See you.